From Ashland, Oregon, home of William Shakespeare and progressive politics, and broadcasting live from the Southern Oregon University Digital Media Center and the RVTV studio, it's the So Not So Late Night Glamour Dave show, and recorded before a non-existent studio audience with a skeletal crew of certified public access producers. You can expect to see tonight's guests, whoever they may be, the Glamour Dave Comedy Players, and the Rogue Valley Public Access Orchestra. Now, here's your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow.
Hey, Rogue Valley. Welcome to the So Not So Late Night Glamour Dave show. I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow, and you are checking in with the last episodes of 2019, and this is our Christmas edition. So we have this wonderful room from a really exclusive chalet up on Mount Ashland. Is where we're broadcasting from. So, this is my Christmas get-up. We're having fun tonight with some wonderful friends as guests tonight. And so I have, as my guest sidekick for the evening, I have my mother, Dorothy Nienow. So
Yay!
Welcome my mother once again, filling the role of guest sidekick. And then we have Keegan Van Hook, RVTV Public Access Coordinator, as my first guest tonight. And then a little bit later, we will have a musical video clip performance from the Christmas special featuring Mary Ann Graham. And so I actually had a musical guest lined up for tonight. I was going to have Jovita Enriquez, who's new to the Valley, and she's a Latin singer, does mariachi kinds of music and stuff. Mm-hmm. She also does opera. She does a wide range
everything.
of stuff. She's an
Beautiful voice. Beautiful woman.
She got ill and is not in a position to actually even talk right now.
Right.
So
Strep throat.
Yeah.
It's not good.
So I was notified, like about 4 hours ago, that she was not going to be able to make it in. And so we had to make some slight changes to tonight's programming. And so, we'll play a couple of video clips from the Christmas special.
That's
okay,
okay.
'cause she's your first guest on CBJ, isn't that right?
Yeah. No, actually, Jen Ambrose
Oh, I see.
is my new music show that's going to be one of my productions for next year is Rogue Valley CBJ, Country Blues Jazz.
Nice.
And so the first episode it features a performance by Jen Ambrose at Lark's Restaurant in Medford.
Nice.
That was recorded a few months ago. So I'm going to try and capture additional concert performances by local musicians and bands through 2020 to create new episodes for that show.
But Mary Ann is in the Christmas.
But Mary Ann Graham is in the Christmas special,
Right.
which is now broadcasting
Yes, it is.
often
Yep.
here on RVTV. So, yeah.
Just plugged it in earlier today.
Oh,
So we're all set up until Christmas time. You got all your air dates ready to go.
Yeah, cool.
awesome.
So Keegan, it's great to have you on as one of the last final guests of 2019.
It's good to be here at last. This has been a goal of mine the entire time I've worked here at Rogue Valley.
and it's an unexpressed goal, so that's...
Yeah, and essentially, since you're leaving us, it's,
Right.
yeah, we have to get you on here.
Yep. So I'm happy to be on at last. It feels good.
Well, you've been really, since you took over after Charles Douglas left in the spring, you've definitely done a great job filling the role as the public access coordinator.
Thank you.
So all of us producers here at the studio have really appreciated the energy that you've put into it.
It's been a pretty smooth transition. You've really done an awesome job.
Thanks.
So.
Well, that was my goal, and it's been a really wonderful place to work. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Like, this has been by far more than a job for me. This has been definitely, it really has become my central focus in life. Public television has really grown into a passion. I always enjoyed listening to things like NPR and watching PBS, obviously, when I was a kid. So it was a great feeling to be able to come and work here and not only that, but then get involved in specifically the public access program and get to know all of the producers who make awesome shows here and get to help with the production of all those things and, you know, getting them up to air and just kind of being around. It's been just an unbelievably pleasant time.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a really great energy that's here at the studio among us public access producers. For one, the community of producers here are so supportive of each other.
Right.
Right, because without that mutual support, nothing would get done or achieved here as far as programming goes.
Right.
Right, so for me, you know, it's been an amazing experience. I mean, I've been here now for 2.5 years, and it's been the first time in my life where I have found myself in a community that is so supportive that I know that any idea that I get to do a show, no matter how crazy it might be, that there can be a group of people to come together to help me fulfill that goal, fulfill that idea, and see it to completion.
Totally. That's always what I'm saying about this to other people, is that it's just very rare to find a circumstance where you get such a large group of people who can find a way to get along this well. Like, usually in a crowd this big, you'll have at least one person who's kind of a party pooper or doesn't play in the way that you want them to, and so, you know, they can be hard to deal with. But that just simply isn't the case with this station.
I think it's a passion, because everyone has their passion for what they're doing, and it's all volunteer. We're here because we love it and we enjoy each other, and it's just a mutual goal for everyone to make everyone successful.
Yeah, I think everyone here quickly learns to respect the individual passions of each producer, of what it is that they're trying to achieve with their respective shows. And so that that mutual respect of each other and what it is that drives each of us to do the shows that we do really serves kind of as a fuel for, you know, for the whole community and how we get things done here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I could talk about it forever, honestly, just how fantastic this place has been to work. Like, I don't think I've had a day on this job I could describe as bad. I think, like, the worst day I've had was when, like, the server imploded on itself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That was really fun to
that's-
fix. I enjoyed that day. So I really have to say it's just been fantastic. I don't expect I'll ever find another job that's been as rewarding as this one has been, just in all of the aspects that it is rewarding.
But it's a nice stepping stone, because it's moved you into
Right.
your next.
Yeah, now I'm off to work at PBS, SOP-TV, soon to be SOPBS. Basically, it worked out really nicely. After I found out I wasn't going to be here anymore, I applied there, and they just kind of scooped me right up. And so I'm happy to say that I think I have a nice career in public television ahead.
Definitely.
That's at least my goal at the moment, is try and just stay working in public broadcasting for as long as I can, and you know, keep doing this versus, you know, potentially going and working at a different kind of station, a more commercial station. There's just there's kind of a vibe and a quality to public broadcasting that really attracts me in a way that sort of commercial stuff doesn't. And so I'm really, really happy that I get to keep working in this.
Yeah, well, you know, public television, you know, it's because the focus is not pure commercialism.
Yeah, it's not as
You know,
regimented and controlled
also,
as.
it allows for more editorial openness
Yeah,
in terms of subjects that can be pursued.
Totally.
There's less controls editorially on what the final product becomes.
Right.
And so for producers of quality television, you know, there's that openness allows for and fuels that kind of passion still for you know, allowing the producers to pursue any idea that they think is worthwhile. Right?
Totally.
Whereas, you know, commercial television has its place, but, you know, commercial interests dictate a more generic kinds of
For sure.
of programming, editorial kinds of decision making. And so, yeah,
Yeah, it's profit oriented. It's, you're going to go with what draws in the numbers, and it's like, you don't have it, then you go away. And
Yeah. And the best part of public television is no commercial breaks.
That's right.
We're
That's
doing a solid half hour
right.
right now. And
That's
you
right.
don't do that on commercial stations typically.
Yeah.
You do generally 10-minute chunks with 3 breaks, and that's a half hour.
Yeah.
Nah. I like it when things play all the way through, so it's nice.
I've timed it before, and a lot of times there's more commercial breaks than there is actually TV programming.
Sure.
And you're going, you
Yeah,
know?
That can definitely happen.
Yeah, what's up with this?
Right.
Yeah, you go to like, when you pull up, you pull up an on-demand program, right? From, like we're subscribed to Spectrum, so, you pull up the latest episode of Batwoman or Supergirl or one of those shows, and typically the program itself lengthwise is like 45, 46
Right.
minutes in length, right? And so that's like 15 minutes that is out of an hour that is basically had been reserved for all the
Yeah.
commercial breaks, right?
Literally
So,
a quarter
like,
of your time.
A quarter of the programming is like just sucked out for for all that advertising.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it definitely affects the length of programming that's created and how that programming is produced. And,
Yeah.
so yeah, there's a great deal of value in public television, and as our region's public access television station, we provide a really rare resource to our region, because there's a lot of public access stations across the country that only focus on the education or government programming into things,
Right.
and don't actually allow full public access the way it is here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very fortunate. We're
Yeah,
very
this is pretty
fortunate in this
amazing.
valley to have that.
Now, in addition to your move to the local PBS station, you do like travel log documentary
Oh yeah.
projects,
Yep,
right?
I do.
So
Yeah, well, so I for a long time I've been interested in travel and documentary filmmaking, and my buddy Lewis and I are pretty big on doing that together. We've done sort of those kinds of projects since we were high schoolers. We used to go out with cameras and photograph things and then make blog posts about it. And when we were doing that, I always kind of wanted to do movies, but at the time, being in high school, just didn't really have,
yeah, right.
in a lot of ways, the resources to do things that I thought were cool enough to make into movies. But later on, we started actually, instead of photographing, we started filming, and we produced one movie called The Cornucopia Project that's been out for a little while. But then very recently, we just released at this point is still my most recent piece of work. It's called The Alvord Desert, and it's about the Alvord Desert of eastern Oregon, southeastern
Yes,
Oregon.
I watched that. That's
Oh,
very,
cool.
very good.
Oh, thank you.
You do an excellent job.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make.
You can tell that. It really was, and it's
I've seen like a couple of segments of it. Yeah, I have yet to like be at home long enough to see the whole thing through yet. But your Cornucopia project, I can safely say I've probably seen that now over a dozen times over the intervening months.
It plays pretty frequently on this.
Yeah, and but it's a fun show. I mean, it's the whole thing that you do, exploring the mining region over there.
Yeah. The Wallowa Mountains.
Yeah, that's just, it's a really fun travel adventure show. I mean, I really enjoy watching that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that one too was a lot of fun to make. I think that one was probably more fun to make than the Alvord Desert, just because the locations we went to were so cool, and there was a lot of different locations, whereas the Alvord Desert centers in on a topic, which was a goal of that. I wanted to, in a lot of ways, kind of reduce the scope of what I was doing so that I could focus more on the style and quality of it, and more details about the single topic, and just kind of try it that way, as well as try doing a film that didn't have narration, because I'm falling away from my desires to do so much voiceover travel documentaries. At least.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as a producer and being responsible for the editorial production aspects. I mean, those are kinds of issues that, that you have to kind of contend with, right? I mean, you have to deciding, how much material should be narrated, if any, and versus, capturing just, all the live action and keeping it at that, right? So I suppose, each project kind of dictates how things go.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And affects that kind of editorial decision-making process.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the Alvor Desert, and I knew this while I was filming it, that it was definitely a lot more about visual than telling. And that's actually like one of the top 10, probably top 3 most cliche rules of filmmaking is show, don't tell. And I think they also say the same thing for writing, but it applies extremely firmly to filmmaking.
But you really, excuse me, it flows. I mean, you're telling the story, and you're caught up in the story, and then you get the visuals, and it's really interesting, and you do a wonderful job of that.
Well, thanks, yeah. Yeah, the whole show, don't tell rule was, I think, kind of, when I was editing it, at least, was like what I was building it all around, and, at this stage as a filmmaker, it's been like, every project, I think I'm trying to further nail down a different skill when it comes to making documentaries about adventure and travel. Is like, how do I do this better? And so with the Cornucopia project, it was kind of a matter of just doing it for the first time, like making one. And then going from that, okay, what do I really like about this versus what do I think kind of drags? And taking all the stuff that dragged out, that being like some of the longer narration, I didn't like it as much. And so then with the Alvor Desert, be like, okay, this is going to be a lot more focused on visual and just telling the story through what happens on camera. And that is, after all, the power of making films, is that it shows people things rather than, tell them. Because if they want to get information, they can read a book. But that, at the same time, that doesn't necessarily apply to the newer project that I'm working on, which is my science series called Crossed Signals, which is about, for now, it's about the science and different theories about communicating with extraterrestrials.
Okay.
This is kind of a new direction for me with making things. Is I've been doing travel and adventure stuff, but I've always had sort of an interest in astronomy and space exploration, and so I've always wanted to make documentaries or some films that had to do with that whole subject matter. So I'm diving into that now with Crossed Signals, and it definitely involves a lot of narration, and so now it's kind of forcing me into a different direction of, okay, like now I have to do narration because there's just, that's what these kinds of documentaries are. How do I do that better? And so I've been given the opportunity now to learn a lot about like direct presenting to a camera and narration as well.
Well, that sounds like that'd be a really interesting project to see when you get it together.
He's a real space nut.
But but one thing I like about what you've done so far at this point with your work is that you have focused on our region. The things that you have chosen to explore and produce around are local, regional subjects.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that you did a while back was the Tunnel 13 train robbery, right? I watched that several times, and I really enjoyed how you told that story and how you brought your materials together. And that was a really neat presentation of that subject.
Thanks. Yeah, that one was also very interesting to make. I think that's the most interesting research I've had to do for anything so far, because it's just such a dramatic incident. Like, wow. And it has a lot of, you can watch it, it floats around on the channel, but it just had such a like story quality to it. Like three brothers descend on this railroad and murder a bunch of people, and then they have to face up to it the rest of their lives. Like that is just that is an amazing premise for like a movie, and then the fact that it actually happened in real life is just so amazing.
And it's local. I mean, this is
right
local lore.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yes, God, Mike.
how about some music, Dave?
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be a good time for that.
Let's have that. Let's do it.
Yeah.
There she is.
That's one of the things. I mean, that you learn so much as you go. It's just like here. you know.
Well, we don't have audio on this, Dave.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, it was running fine at home. This has happened before.
Gosh.
God. What
Something about those TriCaster imports. It just never works the way you want it to.
Oh man.
What?
Okay.
From the TriCaster goes straight to broadcast.
Oh geez. Well, this is one of the aspects of live television, Road Valley.
It's true.
Yeah,
You
we have.
almost heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have mechanical TriCaster issues on occasion, and apparently that's happening now because the music video clip that I had brought in of Marianne Graham performing Silent Night was working just fine at home, and now it's.
No, it's the encoder, I think.
Jeez. Man, let me tell you, I've directed a lot of these things now, and it's like one of the best ways to feel an adrenaline rush is when something does not work on the TriCaster. You're sitting there, everything's chill, and then you hit the take button, and it doesn't work, and then you're like, oh God, and you have to come up with something to fill the
Okay.
space, as
We
we're doing now.
punt. This is live TV.
Yeah. That's why I
Well,
love it.
Well, Keegan, I appreciate your coming on and being one of my final guests of 2019.
I appreciate you having me.
So now, typically at the end of an interview, we do my stupid little comedy selection.
Oh, of
thing,
course. Yeah.
Right? So we have a choice of having an awkward moment.
Oh,
That was our awkward
I think
moment.
we had one.
Yeah, we just went through one already, so
Right.
we could go for a second, Then you have a record, number of awkward moments
It'll
tonight.
come up soon.
Or we can toot our own horn.
Okay,
Okay,
that's always fun.
So, you can have, make use of one of the cheap plastic horns that I got,
Right.
and we can play through the horns and toot our own horns. Or you can try and win the small cash prize
Oh man.
of 100 pennies.
Well, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? I think I have to go for the small cash prize.
Well, you are a college
Well,
student,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
one at that.
Extremely.
So, so any chance at any money, even 100 pennies, can be like a life-affirming kind of thing.
I will take it.
That's right.
That is a meal, as a matter of fact, when you're in
Yeah.
college.
So
Or you could buy a lottery ticket.
yeah.
And
And this is what
hit
the
the big
small
one.
cash prize looks like. So it's a baggie of 100 pennies, and by the way,
Should buy some ramen.
yeah.
Yep, that's
That's
going
right.
to give me a super meal at Dollar Tree later.
That's right. And so, and all these pennies, by the way, are found pennies. It takes us a long while for my mother and I to find 100 pennies
Yeah.
on the ground and put them together in the baggie. So these are like really lucky pennies.
they're very lucky.
So yeah, so that's the small cash prize.
Okay.
So to win, you just have to successfully answer a trivia question.
Okay, sounds
Okay?
good.
Now,
I know the answer.
You just got it.
yeah,
It's
Scott.
very late.
Yeah. So I've got two categories tonight.
Okay.
So the silver screen and Sex and the City TV show.
I'll have to go with the silver screen because I've never watched Sex and the City.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys too that have not seen that show. I do not watch that show. So, and I've not seen any of the movies either.
Your father watched it.
Yeah.
He loved it.
Okay, so the following question comes to us via Gmail from
Okay.
the show's ancestral home of the Nienow clan in Mapleton, Minnesota.
Right on.
Crater Lake is the fifth oldest national park in the United States and the only national park in Oregon. The lake is 1,949 feet deep at its deepest point, making Crater Lake the deepest lake in the United States and the ninth deepest in the world. Your trivia question tonight is from the category of the silver screen. What century was the setting for the sci-fi flick Logan's Run?
Oh man, I just watched this movie too. Was it the 27th? No.
No, that's a little bit far out.
Ah,
It was the 23rd century.
dang it.
23rd.
Yeah.
I just watched that. That's a very weird movie.
It is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the thing that's most notoriously famous for is the fact that Farrah Fawcett is in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like one of her first early movie roles, right? Before she got hooked on to Charlie's Angels.
And
Right.
became
right?
famous.
And I think it was like the star, the female star of the movie is Jenny Agutter, as I recall. And but once Farrah became like Farrah after Charlie's Angels,
Yeah.
then the whole thing and her appearance with in that movie, you know, became like a bigger thing than the actual actress that has the starring role.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's funny that way in terms of sci-fi movie trivia, right? Because no one ever remembers who the starring actress is, and it's always everyone's like concerned about Farrah, and she was only in it for like just a few minutes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That's the next trivia question.
There's some amazing practical effects in that movie too. That is an impressive movie in a lot of ways. Kind of a weird little gem out of the past that I think people sort of forgot about for a long time until it made its like reappearance on Netflix there, and then suddenly people are like, "Whoa, Logan's Run!" And like,
Yeah.
sure
I'm
enough,
rolling the credits in 1 minute from now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Well.
we're usually pretty casual about that, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, this is
Live.
it's only live TV,
That's
Road Valley,
fine,
and this
yeah.
is a pretty casual show. But you know, I'll take the chance here to thank Keegan for being my guest.
Thank you.
Thank my mother for filling in as guest sidekick once again.
Last
Thank my wonderful
resort.
crew that have come in to help with tonight's show production. And so we will be back, Road Valley, in about 3 or 4 minutes for the second half of the show, and I will have fellow RVTV producer Nancy Bloom as my guest, and my mother will continue once again in the role of guest sidekick to help with my interview process. And so, yeah.
And we'll see if we have a second musical video that we'll
Yeah,
play.
so we'll see
Yeah,
if
maybe we can get that fixed.
Yeah, I'll see if between
Do my
now and
best.
the next opportunity, we can get the music video clip issue resolved, and we can hear Jen Ambrose and John Galfano sing Deck the Halls. That was the next clip. So we'll see you back here in a little bit, Road Valley.
Thanks for having me, Dave.